Pardon if there are repetitions from last week, but I'm sure all the Ideathon participants are actively working on the ideas. You've shortlisted your ideas, shared with your leads over the last 1 week. So this session is probably going to help you in your week 2 activities, which actually has to be includes crafting a solution, brainstorming and conceptualizing a potential solution for your problem, and create a detailed outline of your proposed solution. Now, I am in no way a management expert who can guide you through specific templates. There are multiple available online. So what I've done in this session is pointing you to a few of these available templates and also seeing which one is most comfortable for you to pick up and run with in the rest of your Ideathon journey. End of the session, the objective is to come up with a detailed outline, and you should be able to address the problem effectively. So you have found a solution, you have come up with the value, the potential benefits for the users and the society. So that is the premise of the session. So the way I'll start this is, how many of us have had this trouble of standing outside a restaurant or inside a restaurant waiting for a table, or outside a restaurant waiting for an entry? Very common. It happens even today. But 10-15 years ago, this was pretty much a common sight. Till we had the advent of the Swiggies and the Zomatos and the Uber Eats, who were able to get the food to your doorsteps. Or the situation that you had to reach out for a cab or an auto rickshaw, and just probably one street down the line, there is a set of auto rickshaws waiting with no lights. That has been a thing of past with Ola and Uber coming in. So that's a big switch from what we have had probably 15-20 years ago. Same is the case with Airbnb, where empty homes or spare rooms in the house was monetized by a bunch of smart people to set up a business called Airbnb. The key in all these three things are the founders of these company, the owners of these companies, don't own hotels, restaurants, or cabs or auto rickshaws on their own. The customer and the service provider are on their own, and they are only an intermediary or an aggregator platform that comes in between. These were great ideas that became big business revenue over the years. Now, your ideas need to translate into these type of big startups is our vision of the Ideathon. If so, what are some of these good ideas going to look like? They have good revenue stream. They have a good customer retention. It's not enough just to have customer come once. You need to use Uber the second time so you're comfortable. You need to have a defensible moats. Basically, that translates to a solid value proposition. You have come up with an idea that is really not there in the market, and you have a solid idea out there. You are close to the transaction. Now, that is very important. Your idea should not be riding on somebody else, which basically means, imagine you have a SaaS solution, but all of that would mean for every $100 earned, $70 has to be paid to AWS, and you keep $30. So your portion of the transaction is lower, and you are at the mercy of AWS up and running to be in business. So how close to the transaction are you as a company or as an idea? Now, in today's technology-driven world, you need to scale with people, not with people, but with software. Technology is able to do things. AI is able to replace a lot of things. So is your solution able to leverage technology and not just adding more people to get the job done? And finally, you have to build a brand that is known to people, that are familiar to your customers, who can comfortably come because of a brand recall. Moving on, your idea is already shortlisted. You have finalized your idea. How many of you are able to sleep or not sleep because of this idea is in your head? Any startup, once you come up with an idea, you will eat, sleep, drink only about this, which basically means you have this idea on the top of your mind and you're trying to build a solution based on this idea. Is that how this week has been for all of you? Then yes, you are really living your idea. Now, that being said, is that an idea that you've come up with, a solution, or is it a problem? What that typically means is a lot of people confuse between a problem statement and a solution. Have you come up with a solution last week, or did you come up with a problem last week? Is your problem well defined? Are you able to really tell to people, articulate to people what exactly was a problem that you thought needs to be solved? The problem of taking this approach of solution instead of the problem is what they term as CISP. So give you an example. AI is the hot thing in the market today. So everybody is jumping on the AI bandwagon and they want to do something. And now you're going to say, I need to do something with AI, not knowing what the problem that you're going to address. You will come up with some sort of idea. You will come up with some problem statement, but that will be very superficial because you have a solution in your head and you're trying to build an idea behind it or a problem statement behind it. It should be the other way around. You need to have a problem statement identified in whatever areas that you've decided to work on and build a solution around that. Truly, that is the only way that you can build a sustainable idea that can scale up to an Airbnb or an Uber. Simply Google it. You know, again, Google, Bing, whatever. You want the idea that you've got. How many of you have Googled that idea and figured out what were the answers? What does the internet say about your idea? What has others done about this idea? Have people done this before? Have people done and failed this before? Or have people done and there is already an existing product out there in the market? That's okay. If your idea, you have defined a problem statement that is more deeper than what you see there, that is not a problem. It is okay to come up with an idea that somebody is already doing, but you've got to do it better than what is out there. So Google it and meet others who have already done this idea. If possible, there are companies who have already probably done your idea and partially succeeded or failed. Reach out to them, speak to them and see if they have, what have they done wrong or where were the mistakes, or are you heading out on a journey that is already probably does not have a market? Who is your audience? Who are you trying to sell this idea to? In marketing terms, we call it TAM, the total addressable market. So it does not mean the people that you know today. It means a larger community that this solution will eventually get sold to. So do you have an idea of your TAM? That is very key when you're getting into an ideathon, into a product journey. So validate your problem with your audience. So you know that there is a specific solution that you have in mind that is probably for an elderly or probably for youngsters. Bounce your idea and your solution with them. Now, keep in mind, you need to speak less and have your target customers speak more. So when you have your interviews, you can have it as a formal interview or you can have a casual chat with the people that are probably going to be benefited by your idea. Talk to them about that situation. Talk to an elderly person about how his trips to hospital today is, and is there, what are the challenges that he's facing in his medical situation. That will give you ideas to make a much more robust telehealth platform. No, so don't go and tell your idea or your solution to people, but try and understand what the life of the end user looks like today, and how is it going to change with your idea. So ask him to walk you through his daily life and daily activities. Instead of saying, "Do you have a problem?" Make him talk to you about his way of doing a specific thing, and how you can then connect back the dots and say how you're going to fix that problem. Now, this is another perspective of the same idea that you've come up with. Have you come up with an idea that is has an existing market, or is it a new market that you're opening up? Are you leveraging a new technology, or is it an existing technology? So if you see, Gillette over the years has modified razors, or iPhone has modified with one camera. They've gone from, say, version 13 to version 14 and is charging a premium. They are incremental innovation. It is for an existing customer base, or is this for an existing market. They have come up with an existing idea. Cameras were not new. That's an incremental innovation. Or be the washing machine that's made a minor modification. Or is it an architectural innovation? What that typically means is a scanner that used to be a big machine. I don't know how many of you have seen those big scanners. Uh, Canon was able to bring a desktop scanner. What that typically meant was, in an office, you typically had probably one or two scanners in the scanner room. Now you have probably 10 scanners in all the senior executives' office. You suddenly moved from selling 2 units to 10 units, and all the downstream service and consumables revenue from that. This is an example of Peloton, the exercise bike company, who was able to, again, exercise bikes were always there. TV was always there. All he did was brought them together. Today, TV display on an exercise machine is a common thing. But Peloton was an innovator who got it first. Or is it a radical innovation? Somebody who invented the wheel, the fire, or the penicillin? Those were new markets, new technologies that nobody knew. Or is it, a new technology in an existing market? Say, UBN AI pin that has just come out is going to replace probably an existing smartphone market, or iPod that replaced the traditional Walkman. Now, till here, we have talked about some examples. Here is a little bit of theory that I would leave with you. Now, this is a model. Again, as I said, we've gone online and picked up a few models. This is probably one of them that could be of use in your journey of coming up with a solution, a structured approach for solving the problem or the idea that you have. The solution, you have a hunch. You have some idea vaguely in your mind that probably this is how it's going to look like. Now, how do you translate that into a workable solution? The fundamental challenge there is you cannot have a fully working solution at the end of your idea for a few things, because what is the key challenge or the key constraint when you are working on an idea? Any answers from the team so that I can take a break from talking all the time? What are the key challenges when you're working on an idea?
Whether this will work or not.
Okay. So the success
We
rate of
all,
this idea. What
yeah,
else?
whether
What other challenges are likely to happen when you're working on
Prototype
an idea?
resources for prototyping, maybe.
Exactly. So resources. So resources could be time or money, right? The idea is great only for a specific time window. You want to launch you have a great idea, but you are 1 year late. Somebody else has already taken the market. Or you have limited budgets. You are going ahead with this idea with your own, savings, or your family is giving you the funds to work on this idea. You have limited budgets. So you cannot make a full-blown solution when you get started on an idea. You start with a hunch. Now, how do you translate that into a workable format? All of us in the Triassic world have seen that we build a lot of POCs for our customer. So proof of concept is the easiest way out, where you can actually get a scaled down version of the solution built in your mind first. You're not even going to build the product first. You're going to build it in your mind, and you're going to put some structure around that. We talked about a lot of things that all these large companies have done right. So you've got to think about not just having a POC built, but in your mind, you've got to visualize how this Uber like product is going to look 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when that idea goes to an IPO. So you've got to not just look at a small uh, POC, but think through the whole cycle. But to get to that, you've got to iterate your ideas, get small scale solutions done, understand your resources, have your, it's limited, work on that. You have the problem solved, you got an idea, you got the solution. Now you've got to get the pieces working together. How do I scale it up? Is it going to scale? Again, then you're going to look at the commercial viability of this. You build the POC. You found out all these great things that you thought in your mind. When you started putting them together as a POC, you have got, 100 different problems. You go back and rework on it. So this is never a one-time activity. This is going to be a cyclical approach that you keep continuing multiple cycles. You even restate the problem. What you started with probably might not be the actual definition of the problem once you started getting closer into it. Any questions here? I see a lot of chats. Okay, I'll move forward. So the same thing, you can actually look at it as a trial and error method. So you're going to do iteratively, come up with an idea, work on it, works, prototype, fail, go back, iterate. That's what we do every day. So make sure that you define what each of these steps are in your idea and how your solution is going to work. This is my favorite topic that I always bring up in all discussions. How do you think about ideas? How do you think about solutions? You can leverage this as a tool, the 6-hat tool, where you have the white hat for the facts, the blue hat defines the processes, how this is done. You have hunches and feelings, that's the red hat. And then you have the creativity hat, which is a green hat. You have the benefits hat, which is a yellow hat. And you have the black hat, which is the cautions, the guidelines, the quality, the checks and balances in your process. In our organization, if you look at any average project that goes through or any customer positioning that we do, we come across all of these in an actual project, right? You have the UI UX teams coming up with creative ideas, somebody who's architects who've got that initial hunch. You have the customers defined guidelines coming in as hard facts. You have the waterfall method or a scrum process that we define in our project process. You have this value proposition creation by the sales team for the end customer, or you have the quality or the finance team making sure that the boundaries are not crossed. So each of your ideas can go through the same process when you're looking at from a fact point, your hunch point, your creativity aspect, the true benefits. Are you able to actually define the value after making this product? So all of these could come handy while you're working on your solutioning process. This is my most favorite slide. Fail fast, fail often. A lot of times, great ideas don't see the light of the day because you are not ready to fail fast. You get a first cut, you do it, you get a first idea done, you run it past people, and somebody says, oh, that's not going to work. You got to fail as soon as possible. You fail earlier, your risk is reduced. You got a great idea, but that's not going to make money. again, it's not a good idea. You go back and rework on that. So fail fast, fail often. Now, the keyword here is often, because it's important that you have a lot of ideas coming in or solutioning coming in, so that you can fail fast, fail often when you're trying to mature your final product. And once both these criterions are met, go ahead and start building on the next phase. Now, I come from a manufacturing background. So this is a picture that we use in our manufacturing world, where we actually design a product, initial prototype it, goes to production for testing, and then to the customer. A failure earlier on in the design phase will cost the company, say, $1, is going to cost the company $10 if the failure is found in production, and $100 if the failure is found in QC, and $1,000 if the failure is found at the customer's location. So, to the previous slide, you need to fail as soon as possible to make sure that the product does not go out to the market and is going to cost you a lot more to fix that. You, as we said before, we have limited budget, we have limited time. So fail fast, fail often is a mantra that we should work with. I have some tools here. Again, we can look it up online. These are tools that we can use for scoring our ideas. Is it fitting the budget? What is the impact? What is that? Is a timeline going to work? And then you start scoring each of these ideas that you've come up with, the solutions that you've come up with, and then you can come up with your own individual project. You come up with a score, you put the values, and then you decide, okay, this seems to be the best option. I'm going to take that direction. Or it could also be, how much money do I need to put for the maximum impact? So obviously, the least budget, maximum impact. It's always nice. If you had unlimited money, you could have made the best of the world solution. But in an innovation world, you have to get a minimum viable option out there to get to market as soon as possible. So from a problem finding, we've got to a solution, and we move on to the experiments and the subsequent steps as we go along the next few weeks. How many of you have heard this company called Bundle?
It's the data providing data provider for for stock market data.
No. They are actually a courier company. They don't exist anymore. They are today called as Swiggy. Think of it this way. You came up with a great idea called courier. So probably in lines with what Quicker does today. So Bundle started off as a courier company. At some point, they figured out that it's not going to work. And this is the magic word that we need to know in our journey of solutioning, which is pivoting. It is okay to change course, correct course on your solutioning, but you need to envision all of these in the next 4 weeks. Think of it that way. You're not going to build the product, but you've got to go through this mindset that with all these initial level of analysis that you've done, the courier business is not going to fly. So they pivoted and became Swiggy. The lessons I would take from the Swiggy, they got the basics right. They got the right market. They started off in Koramangala in Bangalore. That was their test bed, as they call it. And they started testing multiple products on the test bed, and they scaled up at the right time, and they became a big brand today. And obviously, like all of us are familiar, you go into Swiggy, you get a 15% discount coupon, or a password that discount code that you will get for the first time buyers. So that actually brought in their first customers, and they went ahead and scaled up that company. Now, that very same reason was one of the biggest failures also of Swiggy. They gave too many discounts. The other big challenge that Swiggy had was they scaled too fast. They had too many people consulting for them, and they forgot their roots of what their core business is, and they tried to diversify and ended up with a lot of unsuccessful initiatives. The reason why I'm putting this case study here is because when we think of an idea, we need to look not just today, it's about how does the scaled up solution look like tomorrow. So thanks to the Ideathon team, they've given us a model canvas. So this was the model canvas that Swiggy has today. So they have key partners. They know who they are going to be partnering with. What are the key activities that as a Swiggy company will do? Who are the key resources that they need to work with? What is their business value proposition? What does customer relationship look like? A lot of times the delivery doesn't come on time. People are going to write bad about, bad reviews. How are they going to address that? What are the channels in which they can reach out? Mobile apps, digital marketing, website. How do you reach out to your customer? Which are the customer segments that you're going to work with? What is my cost structure? What is my revenue gonna, where are the areas my money is gonna come in from? So these are aspects that all of us need to have when we are detailing out the solutioning in our ideas. This is an example of Airbnb. Couple of guys, unlike Info Park, San Francisco is probably the most expensive places to stay across the globe. So they could not afford a room rental. And typically, a room rental in the SFO area could go as high as $5,000 to $6,000. If you don't know, if you know this joke, um, there are restaurants that actually close once they close at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. They actually close the shop and then they give it out as a sleeping space for people in the San Francisco area. So that, and they have to check out at 7 a.m. and then the restaurant is back up and running. So think of that as the how expensive it is to live in a city like San Francisco. So a couple of guys decided to rent out their 3 mattresses in the room and started making money. And they had uh, customers coming in. Then they found an additional co-founder to expand the business. And then they scaled up. They got this first round of funding. And that's when they figured out they're not growing. So the reason I'm showing this whole journey is because we have to visualize when we actually work on our ideas, what each of those baby steps are before that billion-dollar idea is launched. So that ideas we have to think big about these ideas. And then, they ended up taking pictures themselves, they published it, and then they grew up. After that came the interesting part. Now you have a solid business, but still the venture capitalists did not show interest. So even if you have a great idea, you started making money, still the venture capitalist is not ready to fund you. You've got to make your product a lot more sweeter, richer for venture capitalists to invest so that he sees money at the end of the day. Today, after all the iterations, they are a $10 billion valuation company. Same as the story with Uber. A couple of guys who were attending a conference in Europe was struggling to get a cab. They came back to US and built an app 6 months later and had 3 cars signed up as Uber cars in 2010. Today, they are a 17 billion valuation company and they are close to $62.5 billion in revenue, bigger than General Motors company who manufactures cars. Think of it this way. A company who is just an aggregator, who has 0 cars in their arsenal, using technology to become bigger than General Motors and rushing closer to Volkswagen as a major player in the automotive landscape. So think of how an idea, has translated into a multi-fold business. Today, Uber has got multiple business. They rent you bikes, they rent you cars, they rent you planes, helicopters, they get you food delivered, they are a carrier, they're a shipper. You can actually look at driverless vehicles. All of these are directions that Uber, just a small idea, has scaled up to. So again, the point here is looking upon that as how your idea is going to scale up in the long run. It's not always been a sweet journey for Uber. This is another lesson we all need to keep in mind. In spite of being the behemoth Uber, they did not succeed in China. Didi tried to invest in Uber in China, but eventually they worked around the Uber company and created an anti-Uber alliance, and eventually ended up uh, owning the Uber brand in China. So it's not enough to just build a company, but how do you scale the company across different geographies? Challenges. Uber also has a business model canvas with aspects like partners, customer relationship. So this canvas, again, thanks to the Ideathon team, that is the essence of all these great companies to come up with your idea canvas. You have come up with a great idea. What does that look like in a canvas like this? Various aspects needs to be covered. So this is our sample canvas. So your ideas should get superimposed on these along these various solutioning aspects that we talked about earlier to come up with a strong business model with each of these aspects covered in cost, in revenue, the segments. Where do you have a strong advantage? Where does your solution look like? What are the key metrics that you want to share as your value proposition? I just also wanted to throw in another data about why companies fail. This is not always, beds of roses. You only hear about one Uber, but there are 1,000 other rideshare applications that would have failed before one Uber rose as a winner. You'll see a lot of different challenges that companies face. Like we said before, you did not budget your product very well. You did not have a solid business plan. You lost focus. You did not have the right people working. You were outcompeted by somebody who stole your idea and built a better product. You got into a market that never had a requirement. You did not price it right. You did not market it right. You did not pivot at the right point. The Swiggy story. You came up with an idea, but bundle was not the idea. You pivoted, you got it right. But if you fail to pivot, you fail. A poor UX. You great idea, but the customer does not have a good touch and feel about your solution. Once you get customers, how do you sustain maintaining them? Service, post-sale service. All of these are aspects that we have to keep in mind when we talk about a solid idea. Failed geographic expansions, legal challenges, investor disharmony, unsuccessful pivot, lack of passion, did not network, mistimed product, and the list goes on. So this is my last slide. We talked about going from a hunch to building a viable solution. It has a bunch of different things. You need to have your brain and your heart both speaking. Sometimes logical thinking helps, sometimes your hunches help. You need to identify the root causes of the problem. You got to get deep into that so that you know every little detail about the solution that you are proposing. Always you're going to run into challenges, but look that as opportunities. And as a team, if you're working as a team in Ideathon, you got to communicate effectively amongst your team, amongst your first POC customers, that this is what you're coming up with. This is what your idea is going to look like. I leave it at that, and I'll try and take questions, if any, that I can answer. Otherwise, thank you.
Renish, that was really a nice insight. That was interesting listening to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Renish.
Thanks, Renish. So last week I was discussing about how to formulate hunch, or how to identify a bottleneck and create that hunch. And from that hunch, how to systematically develop something that you explained in a great way. Thanks for those new insights, especially with the canvas. It is a good talk.
I think we should give a lot of credit to the Ideathon team because, when I first saw the canvas, I did not really recollect, then I actually reached back to Asif and Jitin to get a copy of that canvas, because that was a common theme in all these successful companies. So I think that is a great find from the Ideathon that they have put together. When you have no questions, it means two things: either you've understood everything or you've understood nothing. So either ways, I let you guys.
Renish, one more thing. The thing is that you mentioned a lot of models or tools, right? It would be, yeah, we have that YouTube thing. We will have this in the YouTube, but if we can collate every thing in a strong format and put that at a flyer or something like that, it will be easy for the people to go in and check it out. That's one
I
of
think
my,
this video is going to be, this recording is available, right? I think
yeah.
because I took the first recording that Jishnu did to find this canvas screenshot. So I think if we can reuse that recording, then it saves the time of building presentation. But this presentation copy, I will share it with you, Asif, so you can publish it in the right place.
Yeah, that would be. Thank you very much. That would be good. Any other questions from anyone? And it's also a good platform to provide feedback whether you have come up with ideas or where at what stage you people are in, and if you have any specific questions that can be asked to Renish, you can do that right now. I
If I
think we
can,
have
if I
yeah
can answer that, yes,
yeah
absolutely.
we have 4 minutes. So anybody?
If I have no questions from you, I'll ask a question to probably randomly people who are participating in Ideathon. You have shortlisted and got that one of three ideas already, right? Is that a general yes from everybody? You moved to that next stage of shortlisted idea. A general show of hands, yes, no. Messages, reply on chat is also fine. If people have
I'm
already
still
got their,
shuffling with ideas. I'm shuffling.
yeah, no. So
Not,
if you have
not,
already
not
done your
shortlisted.
yeah, if you've already done your ideas, if you can at least in the chat, if you can just give a yes or be helpful, so that the team also knows that we are all progressing in the right direction. You've got one yes.
Not yet from me yet.
Yeah, okay. I think it'll be helpful to get the yeses in the chat so that Asif can then finally collate the numbers, or the Ideathon team can collate those numbers. Cool. Other than that, again, see, I've not done this before myself. I've also used this opportunity to go online and figure out processes. But having attended a couple of startup events in the last few years, one thing I can tell you, this is exactly the challenge that people go through every day as a founder or a startup idea. And the next biggest challenge would be, how can you speak to that canvas from your heart? End of the day, if your idea needs to get funded as a company, the key thing will be, can you articulate your idea with passion to an investor and get money for it? So your canvas is going to be your, you'll need to eat, sleep, live the canvas every day if you want to really build on your idea.
Yeah, 1 minute more. Anybody? Any questions?
If nothing, I'll let people eat a minute earlier. Asif.
Yeah, that would be good, Renish. Thank you, Renish. It was really inspiring. I thought very motivated. We feel a lot motivated than before once we went through your presentation. Thank you, Renish. Thank you for motivating us.
Thank you all. Bye now.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.